Welcome, Ken Kroll here. This presentation reviews the Sensi compensation plan, and it's broken into three distinct parts. The first one covers the terminology you need to know in order to understand how the model works. The second one covers the responsibilities or the requirements that you have to achieve in order to move up in ranking. And the third part goes over the rewards or the compensation aspects at each of the different levels of the ranking system. So let's get started with a quick overview of the overall model. This is available on the last page of the Sensi catalog. You'll notice here there's really three distinct parts: ranking, responsibilities, and rewards. This first section here covers the different ranking levels that you can achieve in your Sensi business. The second section here then goes over what those requirements are at each of the different ranking levels. And then this other section, third section here, the rewards section, goes over the compensation that you earn at the different ranking levels of your Sensi business. Okay, and you'll also notice there's a lot of terminology here that you may or may not be familiar with, like group wholesale volume, team wholesale volume, active frontline, personal wholesale volume. So I'm going to cover briefly some of the terminology that's used within the compensation model. So let's do that now. It all starts with Essential Consultant. That's where everyone starts when they join Sensi. And Essential Consultants earn 20% on their personal sales until they reach $1,000 in sales of Sensi product. At that point they promote to Certified Consultant, where they get a 5% increase in their commission on their personal sales for the rest of their Sensi career, so it goes to 25%. And then in any month where you sell $2,000 or more in personal sales, you get another 5% bonus. Okay, so essentially in any month that you're selling $2,000 or more, you can be earning 30% on your personal sales. Okay, so let's review some terms. Personal retail sales volume, if you heard me mention that, or maybe you've heard that before, is essentially your own personal sales calculated at the full retail sales price. Okay, personal wholesale volume, okay, is the difference between retail and wholesale, is that commissions have been deducted. Okay, so retail price less commissions equals wholesale. Your frontline consultants are just simply the people that you have personally sponsored into the business. Okay, active means they've sold $150 in PRSV, personal retail sales volume, in that month. Okay. Group wholesale volume is essentially the wholesale volume. Remember, the difference between retail and wholesale is commissions deducted. The wholesale volume of everybody on your downline team. And then team wholesale volume I'll cover here in just a second as I present a little more graphical view of what we're talking about here. So let's do that now. Any downline or any Sensi business starts initially with one person, so that's you. Okay, then as you add people, these are your frontline consultants, people you've personally sponsored into the business. When they do $150 in sales in a month, they are considered active for that month. Okay, so that would be an active frontline consultant. So every one of those who did that would be considered an active frontline consultant. As they add people underneath them, recruit people, new recruits on their teams, they become part of your team. And the group wholesale volume is the combined volume at the wholesale level for everybody on your team. Okay. Now, as people promote to become directors, so let's say this person here promotes to become a director, then their wholesale volume is no longer included in your team wholesale volume. It will always be calculated as part of your group wholesale volume, but any director-led volume, wholesale volume, is deducted to come up with your team wholesale volume, and later on you'll start to see why that's important. Okay, so if you want to review your own personal situation, you can go to your Sensi workstation and click on the downline link. What that'll allow you to do is to look at your entire downline. Now, if you're new, then there's just going to be you listed. As you add people, then they'll show up here, okay? And you can constantly assess where you're at any point in time. This is updated as orders are entered into Sensi's system by you or anybody on your team. You'll see those numbers show up here. Okay, so in this particular example, let's start over here on the left-hand side with level. Using the example we've been using, level 0 is represented by you or me, so that's right here. This is level 0. Any ones are your frontline consultants, okay, people you've personally sponsored into the business are ones. So these people here are your ones. Anybody they've sponsored in, okay, those are twos. And any that your twos have sponsored in here, so these are your twos. Anybody they've sponsored in are threes, listed as threes. Okay, so that's what that level means. All right. So you can track that, and that'll continues to grow on as more and more levels are added to your team. You can see from the ranking column here that this person here, the me person, the level 0, there'll always only be one level 0 in a downline team, is a director, okay, and that there are no other directors on this team. So because there are no other directors, the group wholesale volume will be the same as the team wholesale volume, because there's no deductions in the team wholesale volume for any other directors. Okay, so over here you have the personal retail sales volume, the group wholesale volume, and the team wholesale volume. And as I mentioned, the GWV and the TWV will be the same because there is no director deductions. So let's say that this star consultant right here becomes a director at some point, okay, which means that they will have had to do $500 in PRSV themselves, have $10,000 in group wholesale volume, and have 3 active front lines. That's what this column is here. Active first level means active frontline consultants. Have to have 3 active frontline consultants. So once they achieve that, they would become director. And this volume, this group wholesale volume, is deducted in this column, in the TWV column, and that number would be reflective of all the wholesale volume on the team, except for any volume that is represented by a director on the team. Okay, so that's personal retail sales volume here, group wholesale volume, team wholesale volume, and this is your frontline active. So you can see this particular person has 7, so there would be 7 along here, 7 ones, 7 active front lines here is what that column is representing. All right, so that's the terminology and how to look at it in terms of your own downline team on your Sensi workstation. And let's move on to Part 2, and in Part 2 we will review the responsibilities, the requirements to move up to the different ranking levels in the compensation model.